What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We continue with our 2019 ESPN FPI breakdowns. We're going to be looking at the Auburn Tigers, and something that I find very interesting with the schedule for Auburn and what the FPI thinks about it. We'll get to that schedule here in just a second, but first, let's just look at the overall breakdown for the Tigers and what the FPI thinks about this team. And you can see it here on your screen. They are ranked number 9 in the country. They are the 9th best team according to the FBI. They're projected to go about 8-4, potentially 7-5, but closer to 8-4. And they have roughly a 10% chance of winning the SEC West. They have no chance of going undefeated. The FBI, again, just does not see this team having any opportunity to run the table. And they have a really tough schedule, so that's definitely understandable. They have a 2.1% chance of winning the conference. So roughly, again, a 10% chance. We don't have the exact number of winning the SEC West, and then just a little over a 2% chance of winning the SEC. They have the 7th toughest schedule in the country according to the FBI. Of course, they got all the teams in the SEC that they'll have to play, and I think they have the toughest SEC conference schedule. And then they also have Oregon on the schedule as well. So just a brutal schedule here for the Auburn Tigers, and here it is. You can see it on your screen. And what is really interesting to me is the fact that they don't have any games where they have basically no chance. They have at least a 26.4% chance of winning each of these games. They have it's pretty low against LSU, just 28%. Actually, a 45% chance against Georgia. So they have a better chance of beating Georgia than they do beating LSU, Alabama, and Florida, and even Texas A&M. And so that shows you just how important home field advantage is. But you look at the games where they're favored, they're big favorites in most of these games. 95% against Tulane, 98% against Kent State, 67% against Mississippi State. Not a huge gap, but still they're clearly the favorite in that game. An 85% chance against Arkansas, 81% chance against Ole Miss, 98.8% chance against Samford. The only game is Oregon. That's the one swing game, the one game that appears to be a game that could go either way. And that will really determine, I think, the success of this team. So despite the fact that they have 5 losses, if you go through each individual game, they have 5 losses. You average it out, and the FBI actually thinks it's more likely that this team will go 8-4 than it is 7-5. So they think that they'll get a win in one of those 5 games. And when you see these percentages pretty high, 42%, 39%, 45%, you can see how the FBI would think that, one of these games they're going to pull off an upset in. But on the flip side, they could lose to Oregon, and that would change things. So again, it's really a 7-5 type record, 8-4 record, I think, for Auburn, according to the FBI. My opinion on these games, I think the A&M game is very close to a 50-50 game. I tend to agree with Oregon. I think that is basically a 50-50 game, one that could go either way. You got Florida on here at basically a 40% chance. I think that's pretty accurate. Arkansas, I think, maybe is a little high. I think Arkansas on the road with a game sandwiched in between Florida and LSU is going to be a tricky game for Auburn, and I think that the percentage should be more like 75% in that game. LSU, they haven't won in Baton Rouge in I think since '99. That may not be right, but it's been a long time. So yeah, I don't see them having much of a chance in that game. And I do think they have a chance against Georgia because it's at home. It's at Jordan-Hare. You never know. It's a rivalry game. So I tend to agree with that. Maybe it's a little high. Maybe it should be closer to 40%. And then I think the Alabama percentage is pretty accurate as well. You got the Iron Bowl playing at home. That will be a tough one for Auburn, but I do think they have a chance. Roughly a 25% chance in that game as well. So I tend to agree with the FBI overall. I think they got this Auburn team pegged pretty well. There are some percentages that I would adjust a little bit. But yeah, I think 7-5, 8-4 is very possible for this team. I think we actually picked them to go 9-3 because of their defense. But 8-4 probably a little bit more realistic. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more here on our SEC football channel.